Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Laurie Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good evening. It is 9:30 p.m. here in Calgary, Alberta. This is Child Abuse Prevention and Human Rights Abuse Prevention is up to us. 30-minute live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com, and chat room is open, and anybody would like to sit in there, that's great. And I want to finish up an article that we've been looking at all week, Monday night, Wednesday night, and I think I started this last week, actually. But this is a great article, and it's all regarding taking a stand against family violence. It's from the Canadian Forces, but it doesn't matter. It's really good information for everybody, and I found it very much inclusive, this article that's on this website. So I'll give you that information here in a minute. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate everyone who's taking the time to stop and listen to my shows, and anybody who's doing anything at all to help stop child abuse and to help protect children and stand up for children's rights. It's just, I thank you, from the bottom of my heart, right? It's so important that we all get involved, right? Everybody shuts up, and what do we have? Same old situation that it used to be, which was hidden under the carpet, hidden behind closed doors, and, people were just allowed to do whatever they wanted to children and get away with it. And children have rights, and they have the right to life. They have the right to loving, caring, nurturing home. They have the right to protection, provision. They have the right to not be abused, right? And unless we stand up for their rights, they're not protected. They don't mean anything, these rights that they have. So we have to be the watchdog, and we have to be the people who are going to stand up and speak out against abuse and stand up for these children, right? It's so important. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Yeah, I'm not a professional counselor or therapist or anything like that. I'm just a private citizen paying to do my own shows, mainly because I'm the Canada Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, and we're fighting to help protect children's rights and to help protect children and save children's lives, right? So this is what we do. And I'm also a survivor of child abuse myself, and so that's why I do these shows. And, so you have to listen at your own discretion, everybody. You have to know that the topics of abuse are very sensitive. Some people may feel uncomfortable with the material, and so therefore everyone listens at their own discretion, right? Young people under the age of 18, you just have to have somebody listen to the show with you. I would like for you to have permission to listen to my shows, mainly because I believe in protecting children, right? That's what it's all about. And we're trying to save children's lives here. And so, learn the facts on how to stay safe online, and have permission to listen to shows like mine and anybody else's, a parent or a caregiver, somebody in your home who cares about you, or if you don't have anyone that cares about you, which I know what that's all about, possibly a teacher, coach at school, mentor, somebody in your life who's older who can help you make the decision whether you should be listening, because I don't know how young the people are who are listening to my shows. So we'll get right into this topic here tonight. And I want to just finish it off. This is I'll give you the actual real link here for this website, right? We've been looking at it all week. National Defense of the Canadian Forces, www.forces.gc.ca. The actual article is called "Take a Stand Against Family Violence Fact Sheets." And this is some good information. It was really all dealing with family violence, domestic violence, abuse of children, teen dating violence. This is a huge issue, and they're starting to really recognize it now and talk about it, whereas it didn't used to be talked about, but neither did child abuse or anything else. Where everybody's talking about everything now, thank God, because that's how things happen. As soon as people start talking about things, pretty soon funding gets put where it should be, programs are started to help people, and the information gets out there, and that's what we need. Education is the key, and education is always the key to solving problems and within our world and within our society. So education is really the key in preventing child abuse or abuse of any kind. So I want to finish looking at this article here, and it's just a short piece left of it. It says we're talking on Wednesday night about do you think you're in an abusive relationship? This would be for teens, or do you think that you are an abuser in the relationship? And we were talking about that. Help for those who abuse, right? Learn new ways of coping, seek professional help, stop blaming your partner, stop your abusive behaviors, right? Take responsibility for your own actions if you're the abuser in the situation. What you can do to help an individual or help others experiencing abuse, right? A friend, relative, coworker, neighbor. There's things that people can do to help somebody who they know is having a hard time in a relationship and possibly experiencing some abuse. There's ways that people can help other people just by being there for them, helping them make a safety plan, things to consider while helping them make a safety plan, right? And then there was what you can do in your community to make a difference, right? Then we also looked at the early warning signs of dating violence, and if you think your friend is being abused, right, if you think your friend is abusing their partner. So that's where we left off on Wednesday. And what I wanted to do is look at this next section, which is how you can help prevent dating violence amongst youth. As an individual, you can, and they list a whole bunch of stuff here. They say you can help young people build their self-esteem, right? Acknowledge the positive things they do. Listen respectfully when they are telling you something. Believe what they say and take it seriously. And allow them to make decisions appropriate to their abilities, right? So there's things that people can do, as a mentor in someone's life, a young person's life, or if you're an older sibling or a parent, right? They can help young people build up their self-esteem so that they don't have these issues of jealousy and low self-esteem and trying to control the relationship just because of their own feelings of inadequacy, right? And children, young people need to know, that abuse is not right, and that abusing anyone is not right, and they don't deserve to be abused either, and that to help them build up their self-esteem and help them to become responsible young adults, right? It says help young people be self-reliant, teach them to resolve conflicts without violence, teach them that the use of force and insults is not acceptable in a caring relationship, right? Teach them that no person has the right to possess or control another person. And teach them that excessive jealousy is not a sign of love, but a sign of insecurity and a need to control. And that's the whole thing with so much violence out there. There's violence everywhere. It's on the TV. It's in the music. It's part of our world. And just because it's out there doesn't mean that we should take it on as our own behavior. Just because I'm watching some television show that I really like and it's violent, and that means that I got to go and be violent towards everybody. So many young people identify with that stuff, and I know because I was one, and I grew up in an abusive home, and everything around me was violent. So my neighborhood was violent. I lived in a violent city. When I was living in this city, growing up in this city, there was more murders per capita than New York City or L.A. It had a higher murder rate, so it was a very, very dangerous place to live. The people there were crazy, absolutely insane, and the amount of violence just on my block alone, but with people was crazy. It was like what people would think somebody was growing up in gang territory when it actually wasn't. It was just a normal street on any normal neighborhood in any normal town. But the level of violence was pretty serious, and that's the whole issue. Like lots of kids, they're surrounded by violence. Their world is violence. They go to school. There's violence at school. There might be violence in the home. There might be violence in their neighborhood, and so really that's their life, right? And they take it on, and they think that everything has to be about violence, and that's the way that we live, right? But we need to teach young people that there are other ways to resolve conflicts without violence, right? And that just because the world is a violent place does not mean it's right. Just because it is does not mean it's right. Just because people are abusing their children, raping their children, beating on their children, burning their children, and killing their children does not make it right, just because they're doing it, right? Just because there's injustices in the world that are happening all over the world does not make it right, just because they're happening, right? It's extremely wrong. And the more people standing up and saying it's wrong, the better, because it is wrong. And teach them that the use of force and insult is not acceptable in a caring relationship, because so many children, they grow up and they see their parents calling each other names. They see their parents or their mom, whoever their parents or caregivers are, insulting each other, being abusive towards each other. Even if there's not a lot of physical abuse, there could be a lot of insults, a lot of verbal, psychological abuse going on, and then they take that into their relationships, right? And so, or they might actually see this on TV and think that that's the way to behave. So if you see your child behaving like that, you need to talk to them and don't beat them, right? Because that's so many parents' answer to the whole thing. It's like, oh, okay, I'll just trash my kid and beat them up and or kick them out of the house. Like, that's not the way to do it. You have to show by example. Kids are not stupid. Like parents who say, okay, do as I say but not as I do. There's all kinds of parents out there who treat their partners extremely bad, their husbands or wives, and are abusive to their partners, and then tell the children not to be. Right? And the thing is, kids are not stupid. Like they're completely aware of what's going on around them most of the time, and they're not dumb, right? They understand the difference between do as I say and do not as I do. You're supposed to be saying do as I do, You know what I mean? Because if you're behaving properly, then your kids will see that, and then when you tell them something like this, like, well, you don't have to use force and insults. It's not acceptable in a caring relationship. They won't be looking at you going, "You're just a joke. Look how you treat. Look how you and dad or you and mom treat each other." See, kids are not stupid and they're not blind, and they do know what's going on. So you have to live a life that is meaningful and handling yourself responsibly within the family, not hurting your family members if you want your children to listen to you, right? Because otherwise they won't care what you have to say because you've been abusive either to them or to somebody in the home, and then they won't listen to you, right? So we have to be the example for these kids out here, right? And if we're going to be any kind of example, to teach them how to behave in a relationship properly, right? It's going to have to start in the home. It's going to have to start in the home. It's like people just don't want to take responsibility for their own behavior. Then they want their kids to behave properly, and it's like it's not going to happen. It says, teach them that no person has the right to possess or control another person. And that excessive jealousy is not a sign of love, but a sign of insecurity and a need to control, right? So these are things that a lot of people just don't realize. A lot of young people, too, because they're growing up around a lot of really ignorant parents, right, who treat them and other family members extremely badly, and then they take this on into their own relationships. You bet they do. And sometimes it's stuff that they see on TV. Sometimes it's things that they see their other friends doing, but mainly it's stuff they see in the home, and that's a fact, right? Practice what you preach. It says treat other people with respect. Use nonviolent ways to deal with conflict and anger, and speak out against attitudes and behaviors that are abusive. And learn more about violence in relationships and the resources available in your community that help young people in trouble, right? So, we're not supposed to be speaking up for violence. We're supposed to be speaking out against it. Like don't encourage abuse, right? So many people are so abusive. It's just like they just encourage abuse within the home. They encourage abuse towards children. They encourage abuse towards everything, right? And that is the cycle of abuse, and that's what's wrong with society today, and that's why children are getting hurt, and that's why adults are getting hurt, and that's why people are getting hurt, because our society is sick enough to believe that it's okay to do these things to people and think that it's all right. And there's a whole lot of sick people out there that think it's perfectly fine to kill people and murder people and abuse people and put people in the hospital. They are sick. The rest of us are not, right? Those people are the sick ones. So, people have got to change the way that they think and the way that they feel about this whole thing, and then make sure that any of the young people in your life, that you teach them properly and bring them up properly so that they will treat other people with respect, and that they will treat themselves with respect as well, and not allow themselves to be abused or anybody else that they know, right? It's so important. It says, as a community person, you can tell representatives of the media or advertisers that the portrayal of violence as a way to solve problems, control other people, or get one's own way is not acceptable, right? Because media and advertisers and all of this other garbage out here on TV and everywhere else in the world, really, if it's not for educational purposes to show what violence can do and what abuse can do to people, then it's just entertainment. And there's a whole lot of violent entertainment out there. And the thing is it's real easy to get wrapped up in it and actually like it, because the characters that are in there, you might like the characters and think, and identify them. But, the thing is a lot of media is very much into consciously, even though it is a violent show, they are really work towards showing what's right and what's wrong in the situation. But then there's a whole lot of media out there that show a whole lot of violence, that actually show the other side of it and get a lot of people to believe that it's okay to treat people like that. So, we have to use our own, with our own eyes, our own understanding to be able to say that, some of it is okay and some of it's not, because some of it is actually to show and to be an example and to get people to think about what the right thing is in the situation, right? But then some of it's not, and it's just all about really teaching people how to be abusive, and that's just wrong. It says, encourage your local school to include programs that promote the building of self-esteem and positive ways of relating to people. So that's the thing. It's like, encourage your schools to have programs to help people to learn how to properly, to be in a good, healthy relationship. A lot of teens and young people don't even know what a healthy relationship is, because they haven't seen it, growing up in their homes. I know so many people, oh my God, if I could start counting them off, it would take me all night. It would just take me too long. The show would be over. I have known so many people in my lifetime that have lived in these horrible, ridiculous situations, and that doesn't even include my family. And I mean, in all over the world. Like, I mean, I've known people like, well, okay, especially North America, right? All over the States and all over Canada, people who've had these pathetic lives, you know what I mean? And kids, you know, growing up in those homes, don't even know what a healthy relationship is, right? And unless they're going to learn it somewhere at school or from seeing other people that had a normal relationship and think, oh yeah, that looks a little different than what I'm dealing with, so maybe there's a difference there. If all they see is violence and insults and negativity and you know, this whole issue of abuse, they're going to think that that's normal, right? And then take that into their own lives. And that's why we see so many young people killing their children. You can imagine what their home lives were like, right? Anybody who has the capacity to kill their child because they're crying, just you wonder how they were brought up, right? Obviously they weren't brought up properly, because nobody in their right mind would do that to a child, right? Nobody using their head and thinking clearly and being a normal person would do that to a child, right? But so many people do. And, you know, there's parents out there who are beating up their teenagers for the stupidest reasons. You know what I mean? I mean, reasons like, because, you know, they never wanted to bring the child up properly anyway, so they didn't teach the child anything. Let the kid grow up in front of the TV or out on the street, right? And then the teen comes home and has a smart mouth, and then the parents beat them up and then kick them out of the home. I mean, I saw this growing up, so I know firsthand, you know, like, it's ridiculous to assume that, you know, your teen is going to have anything positive to say to you if you've been nothing but an extremely bad parent, you know. So people, you know, they're not teens and young people are not necessarily seeing good relationships at home, healthy relationships at home, and I can totally relate, because I know all about this. You know, I mean, I completely know everything about this, right? So the whole issue is that people expect teens to be able to get into these relationships with their own partners and their own boyfriends, girlfriends, without taking on these behaviors that they learned at home. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? And that's the whole issue. We've got to get the schools to start including programs that are mandatory school programs, not some sort of an elective course, right? They should have to go through some relationship training and and also child abuse training to show what happens to children if they're not looked after and they're not cared for, and that it's against the law to abuse a child. And you know, listen to some abusers, you know, who have abused their children, and then listen to some children who have been abused, and get a real clear picture of what's really going on out there. So, and that it's not right. Because, see, so many kids think it's okay to, you know, to beat a child or to kill a child, shake a baby. They just think it's okay, and then they end up killing these children. They do a few years in jail, 5 or 6 years, some stupid, pathetic sentence like that, and then they're back out popping more kids out doing the same thing to them or somebody else's child, right? And there's just so many sick people out there. It's absolutely crazy. But the whole thing is that's what's wrong. We have a sick society. That's what's wrong. Our society is sick. So we have to change this, and the only way we're going to be able to do that is to reach these young people out here and to reach these children who are being abused and get them out of the abuse, away from the abusers. We really need to stop child abuse, and we really need to stop the cycle of violence. And the only way we're going to be able to do it is to reach our youth. And youth are the future. They are our future. So, you know, hey, a lot of people think, well, it doesn't matter, I'll be long gone, it doesn't matter to me. Well, that's a pathetic excuse of an attitude. And, you know, that's society's attitude really as well. It's not our problem, we won't have to deal with it. No, it is our problem, and shame on everybody who thinks like that. You know, because these kids out here, it's not their fault. They don't deserve to be treated this way. And they don't deserve to have a world, the world that we're living in right now is pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. And it's 2010, it's almost 2011. It's like, let's wake up and smell the coffee here, people. You know, somebody's got to get off their butt and off their duff and start getting busy, and we're all trying. And there's a whole bunch of us out here who are willing to do this, and free, you know, like volunteer. So that's the whole issue. We've got to get busy and do what we can, you know, to help stop child abuse, right? Because in the cycle of violence, the cycle of abuse, because it's killing our children, right? It's absolutely horrific. And the jails are they're just full. They're just so full of all these abusers, you know, and murderers and abusers and stuff. And it's just like, what do you do with them? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many. We're going to have to set up whole continents where we can just ship all the abusers off to these continents and just, you know, these continents, maybe just empty out a continent and just ship all the abusers there. Let them fight it out and kill each other, right? Whatever. And then let the rest of us who want to have a decent life and want to have a good life, get a really good society going. That's what I think we should do. But anyway, that's just my opinion. But that's the end of that article, but that is a great article, and I hope that you will, if you didn't go take a look at it, that you will, because it's really worth looking at. There's all kinds of good information on there. It's just a short article, but it's just inclusive. There's just so much information on it, and they did a great job on it. I want to finish talking. We got about 10 minutes here, and I want to tell everybody about the issue that Dreamcatchers for Abused Children has been invited to go to the Paso Robles Digital Film Festival in California, Paso Robles, California, not November the 19th through the 23rd, and we are going to be there. It's going to be Sandra Potter, CEO and founder of Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, Donna Shear, the president of Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, Elizabeth Brawley, Southern Regional Director, and myself are going to represent Dreamcatchers, and we're going to represent and be a voice for all abused children worldwide that have ever been abused, that ever will be abused, that are being abused right now. We're going out there to be a voice for them, and I'm so thankful to be invited along. Binford Stanley, the Director of State and Fate of Children, invited Dreamcatchers for Abused Children 2 years in a row, and this year the four of us are going out, and this is to Paso Robles. So I'm just going to give you the website and the link and information to that, just in case you're in the Paso Robles area, which is San Luis Obispo, California there. You can check out the festival, I say, if you can still get tickets to it. But the website information, www.PasoRoblesFilmFestival.com. And that's PASOROBLES, Paso Robles Filmfestival.com. And the State and Fate of Children, I just want to kind of take a look at that. This is really cool. It's just so awesome to be a part of this. Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, that's us. We'll be presenting on the Monday, which is the 22nd of November, and we're going to be presenting at 12 noon, and it's just going to be awesome, just so awesome. So we appreciate everybody who has done anything to support Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, because you're all going with us, you know what I mean? Anybody who's out there, helping to share our posts and helping to promote our website and what we're doing and helping to stop child abuse in any way. We know lots and lots of advocates, and we really work with everyone to stop and prevent and stop child abuse, right? And we know so many advocates, and we'll be taking your voices with us, you know what I mean? Like, we're all standing up united in this to help save children's lives and to make a difference in this world for these children out here, and get the awareness out, the education out, that abuse is killing our children just as much as cancer and childhood diseases and accidents and the world poverty, starvation and malnutrition, natural disasters and war and everything else is killing children. Well, you know what? So are parents. Parents and caregivers are killing children, and so are psycho child sexual predators and crazy people. They're killing our children too. But nobody wants to talk about it because abuse has always been shoved under the carpet. Nobody wants to hear about it. You know why? Because it's happening in the homes. It happens at the very core and the very element of what our society can't even face. They can't even face it because it's too disgusting. Well, you know what? It is too disgusting. And as a survivor of child abuse, I'm facing it every day. I got to face this crap every day because what was done to me, and I can't change it. You know what I mean? So I face and live with this garbage that was put on me by my parents and a sibling every day, right? And so we've got to start facing it as a society every day, because these kids out here do not deserve this, right? And so I'm so glad to be going to this, and I'm so pleased that Binford Stanley has asked us to come. This is wonderful, and thanks to Sandra Potter and Donna Shear. They could have gone on their own, and they are taking Elizabeth Brawley and myself along with them, because they really feel that together, all the four of us can really show the world what Dreamcatchers for Abused Children is really all about, and what child abuse is really all about. You know what I mean? So I'm so really so thankful to them for allowing me to be a part of this, and for allowing me to be a volunteer with them and to work to help to stop child abuse. It's an awesome thing to be able to do, to be a voice for these kids out here who are sadly being abused and will continue to be abused until we can get something done. So I hope you will go check out this website here, the Paso Robles Film Festival, and take a look at the State and Fate of Children, especially because it talks about all the people that will be there to present, and all the people that are involved, to help stop child abuse, right? And to help stop child exploitation, child sex trafficking, like the whole works. So the thing is there's some great there's going to be some awesome people there, advocates who are standing up to to speak out against abuse, to stand up for children, youth, and runaways and everything. So I hope that people will go and check this out, because this is so awesome. So Binford Stanley is a big, huge advocate, standing up for children and standing up for youth and runaways and abused children everywhere. And so I hope you will check this website out and go take a look and see what he has to say about the whole issue of our children, being abused, right? He's got some sad words on the state and fate of children, right? And he wrote here in this website here, if you go and follow the links and whatnot, and he says, national child abuse statistics and many other studies and reports are so very sadly back in time. I think we are afraid to look at the dark truth of the present state and fate of children. Google any of these facts. The sources are real, and the state cannot deny the state and fate of children with these truths, right? So truth is like a torch, and we shield our eyes for fear of being burned. Child abuse in America. Children are suffering from a hidden epidemic of child abuse and neglect. Over 3 million reports of child abuse are made every year in the United States. However, those reports can include multiple children. And in 2007, approximately 5.8 million children were involved in an estimated 3.2 million child abuse reports and allegations. Trust that over the past 2 years, the numbers could and or should shock a nation into saving a few children. It says, meanwhile, back at the ranch, statistics. And he goes on to talk about the statistics. And then he talks about runaway and homeless, right, consequences of child abuse and neglect in the USA, and consequences of child abuse in the USA, right? The link between abuse as a child and future criminal behavior. He goes on to talk about the link between child abuse and substance abuse. And really, he just goes on. It's very much informational, this page here, this web page, facts and statistics and whatnot. And he goes on and really talks about, the whole issues of bullying and teens against bullying and just everything to do with the state and fate of children, right? So that's why this is so important that people know that we've got to get involved, every single one of us. We can't leave this up to somebody else. We just can't leave this up to the next generation, right? He says the risks for youth every day in the U.S., 2,383 children are confirmed as abused or neglected. So that's confirmed, right? That's almost 2,400 children every day in the U.S. are confirmed as abused or neglected. 2,411 babies are born into poverty every day in the U.S. And 2,494 babies are born to mothers who are not high school graduates every day in the U.S. 4,017 babies are born to unmarried mothers in the U.S. every day, and 4,302 children are arrested every day in the U.S. It's absolutely harsh with the state and fate of children. That's why he's so interested in making a difference and helping children in the whole, like the whole picture, not just one part of it, right? Society has got to change the way that they feel and think about children, and the way that they handle the whole issue of child abuse and neglect, and the way that they think about beating up and hurting their children and sexually using their children in their own homes, right? People have to stop abusing their children. That's the whole issue. 90 to 95% of abuse happens within the home, and it's generally the parents. It's somebody the child knows and trusts. It's the parents, the caregivers, the siblings. It's the aunts and uncles, the grandparents, the cousins. It's family members hurting and killing their own children, and this just makes me so sick. It's so incredibly wrong. And even if they don't kill them, these kids are abused, and they will suffer their whole lives for it. You know what I mean? So that's why it's just so important that we all get involved, right, wherever we can. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate you all being here, and I'll be back on this weekend, and I will be on my shows, I think, regular time this weekend and next week as well, and as well as Dreamcatchers Talk Radio. Monday night, Dreamcatchers Talk Radio, we have Deborah Boudreau. She writes under the pen name of Annie O'Sullivan. She's coming on the show, Dreamcatchers Talk Radio, at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to talk about her book, Can You Hear Me Now? And I've read it, and she's a survivor. She's got an amazing story to tell, and I think you don't want to miss this show. It's going to be great. We're just so excited about her coming on the show. So everybody, take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.